One thing that so many investors fail to take into consideration when they're buying a property is the street. Most people are focusing on the market, most people are focusing on the suburb, but then they forget about how important the street is. So in today's video, I'm going to break down some of the things that we look out for and some of the things that we like when we're purchasing properties. Now, the street is just so important. It's something that I can't harp on enough because, what we're trying to do here is get the best long-term return on our investment. Now, if by buying on a busy street or a quiet street can impact that long-term performance of your property, then it needs to be taken into consideration. And what a lot of people do, especially interstate buyers or interstate investors, they don't necessarily look at the street. They don't actually drive through the street themselves, and they end up buying on these main roads or these really busy thoroughfares or right next to schools or cemeteries or sports precincts, which get super, super busy at times. And then that actually affects the long-term performance of that property. So essentially what you want to do as a rule of thumb when you're identifying the right property is, number one, you must drive down the street. You must physically inspect the property so you can get a physical feel of the area. Number two is ask yourself the question is, would I let my kids play out on the road in this particular property? Now, I think that's a really good rule of thumb. You can see where we're standing right now. There's no cars driving by. It's a nice, quiet, family-friendly street. It'd be easy for the kids to play some hockey or tennis or cricket, whatever it is out the front of this property with supervision, obviously, and, just let it go because there's not too many busy cars coming through and there's not too much traffic going on. And, that's a really important thing because what does a mum and dad want? What does the owner occupier want? They want to be on those nice, quiet, family-friendly streets. Whereas if we're around the corner on a super busy street where you've got buses going by, you've got cars flying by, you've got hooligans hooning down the street, whatever it may be, it really brings down the appeal and it's going to limit the amount of people that are going to be happy to search for that property. So when it comes to the street level, guys, what we want to avoid is we want to avoid purchasing on main roads. So where there's lots of traffic, where there's traffic lights, where there's, cars coming through all the time, bus routes sometimes. You want to avoid buying right next to retail or commercial or shopping centers or anything like this because this is going to obviously increase the traffic through the area. You want to avoid buying right next to cemeteries and right next to big sporting precincts as well because you're going to get lots of traffic through these types of areas as well. And as I said, it's just coming back to those rules of thumbs. Is this an area where I'd be happy to have my kids playing on the street? And have I physically driven through the street to make sure that everything is okay there as well? If you do those two things, then generally you're going to end up buying on the right street. Now, there's some other things that you need to look at in terms of easements and flooding zones and bushfire zones and landslide overlays and things like this, which is something that your solicitor can do for you or a town planner can do for you once you've found that right property. But from a high level, making sure that you're on a nice, quiet, family-friendly street in a nice, quiet, family-friendly area, because we don't even know how much of an impact that could have. But what if it is only 0.5% better in capital growth compounded over the lifetime that you hold that property? Now, there might not be a difference between this particular street and a busier one just around the corner today in terms of price point, but once you factor in that 0.5% over a 10-year journey, maybe 15-year journey, that's going to impact the future capital growth of your property as well. So making sure that you are dotting the I's, crossing the T's, you're doing the necessary due diligence, you're inspecting the properties and driving through the streets yourself is so important. Now, if you like this video, guys, please subscribe by hitting the red link below. If you've got a friend or a family member or somebody that you know that's currently looking to purchase a property, share this video with them so they don't make that mistake of buying on the wrong street, so that they do go out there and buy in the right area, because it's going to potentially put them in a far better position further down the line. So spread the good news, guys. Make sure people aren't making mistakes. Make sure people are making the right decisions, because there's plenty of great properties out there for everyone. Thanks for listening. Oh, sweaty. So sweaty.